Many people suffer from, will experience, or can be affected by mental health illness. It's all around us, in the interfaith community, school, business, home, and entertainment industry. It affects more people than you know, but the key is understanding mental health and its importance. It is time to remove the stigma by identifying early warning signs, learning skills, and having adequate resources for seeking appropriate professional help. Being knowledgeable about mental health can and will start you on a journey to emotional wellness. Hello, I'm Angela Shine, and welcome to Faith in Mind. On today's show, I am excited to have a man who is originally from a small town west of Nashville, known as Paris, Tennessee. He started his career in elementary education and then moved on to teach higher education. Eventually, he left to accept a calling to revolutionize gospel music, everybody. Dr. Bobby Jones has graced national television for 35 years and has the longest running cable television show in history. Now, tell that, okay? That's great news. He has earned prestigious awards and has been honored by the President of the United States for his many contributions to gospel music. Yet, with all of this success, he publicly revealed in 2013 that he survived growing up in an abusive home with an alcoholic father. Let's welcome our special guest, my guest today, everybody, Dr. Bobby Jones. Hi, Dr. Jones.
I'm so proud of you.
I think we've really been laughing about this, haven't we?
Yeah, that's a great introduction. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So it's great that you're here today, and we're going to talk about some great things about what you have done and what you're doing, continue to do.
All right.
And one thing that I'd like to know is to describe the impact of your childhood, because, you know, we talked about earlier about, you know, how you grew up in Paris.
Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Henry, which is outside of Paris. It's Paris is the county seat for whatever it was for the state of Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
So Henry County, they call it. And so living in this small town, unfortunately, my father was not able to consume alcohol on just a light basis. He was a great consumer of it, and he became what I would call an alcoholic. During that time, I don't think we even addressed people who used alcohol in that manner.
Sure.
He basically did it on the weekends, and when he did that, it took him out of character.
Sure.
Because during the week, he was a very nice person. Mm-hmm. But when he filled that up with, when he filled himself up with that,
Yes.
And it's typical for a lot of the people who lived in that community. They had no other outlets, so they figured that, okay, I'll just drink and get drunk and cuss everybody out and beat them up and do whatever else you do. And it was impacting because I was embarrassed by his behavior and by the way sometimes when he was full of that stuff, as we call it. Fortunately, at that time, it was only alcohol. We never heard of all these other drugs that came on later.
It's all kind of things that you're right, in the 21st century, right.
But, you know, people find ways to escape in
truth.
any situation. I was looking at a story the other day about some people in the islands that nobody goes to that island very much. This was over in the Pacific Island, and they had one that they made out of some roots. And it was kind of like a marijuana, one of those kind of hallucinogenic, how do you say that, hallucinogenic drug to take your mind off of things, you know. And I said, well, gosh, every society has its way of having people to go into another world, so to speak. And so my dad was busy in another world a lot. But I escaped that, fortunately. And I wrote a book and tried to let other people know that if you come up in those kinds of situations, that it's a possibility that you can govern your own life. And that's what happened to me.
Sure. Well, that's great. You know, it was a wonderful, it was a statement. I think we talked about it the other day. And it was, actually it was from an interview, of course, that I had the pleasure in looking at over and over again. And these are the words that you actually said.
What'd I say?
You said, Dr. Jones, I had to find a way to get healed from that. And God put me in position where I could be proud of myself and develop positive self-esteem. Then you said, I could have really been anything. And you touched me,
Yeah,
Yes,
based
that's
on
what
my
you said.
environment,
That's what
yeah,
you said, and that's the
yeah,
truth.
yeah.
Based upon my conditions
Yeah.
and surroundings. But look at God. That's what you said, Dr.
That's what I
Jones.
said.
I am so proud of him that I work for him.
Yeah, and I am.
Yeah,
Because I could have been,
that's right.
I had no role models, basically, around me during that period.
Sure.
So I was just out there, but there was something within me that said, no, this is not for you. You're going to go another direction.
Right.
And that's what I did. And
Sure.
I praise God for it.
Well, I think the important piece was education.
Yeah, and I don't really know how I decided that that was the direction I wanted to go in, because there was nothing around that would lead me in that direction. Even in high school, we didn't have any kind of college preparatory courses to get us ready for anything higher than where we were. Everybody just went, finished, and left.
Is that right?
Yeah, without any direction or suggestions that you may want to go to. You just had to do it on your own. So I decided that somewhere along the line, Angela, it's hard to go back and see how you make decisions about things, I don't know whether it was a deliberate decision or whether it was just something that was put in me. I knew I didn't want to be a farmer. I wanted to be something different,
Right.
So when I had a chance to come to Nashville, and spend some time with my uncle, and the university was here. I had a high school education. I was 15 years old. Yeah,
15 years old, Dr. Jones.
15
What?
when I came to college.
15. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about myself, but I was 15. I wasn't doing that at that age.
What were you doing at 15?
I was still in school. Okay?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, so, with that tender age of 15, how do
That's
you make
great.
those kind of decisions as to what
But
you
that's
can
a
do about
lot,
life?
Dr. Jones, being 15 years old, and then you're going to college.
That's why I thought I must have been spiritually guided,
What you say?
Yeah, in order to do that.
Well,
And then
intellectual, too.
intellectually, well, I was smart,
Oh, then you're being very modest.
As a boy, as a young boy,
Yes.
learning was easier for me than it was a lot of the
Sure.
people around me. So I took advantage of that,
Yes,
and thank God I did.
yes, yes.
That's what happened.
Right. And so then you went to Tennessee State University.
I started there. Yeah, I got a great story. My storyline is hot.
It is.
from abject poverty to be with 3 doctorate degrees. But a lot of people have those stories. I found out a lot of people have come from situations similar to mine, and that's a good thing to know. And so if there's someone who's watching your show now, and they may have come from that, I like what your theme is, faith and mind. Faith and mind together makes a great combination.
It does.
And that's why you're employing these concepts.
Yes.
So people can realize faith will help you develop your mind.
Yes.
Okay, and developing the mind is the first order in getting your life correct.
Amen. Yeah. And actually, I've been doing a lot of research, and a lot of things are saying that spirituality has a lot to do with promoting mental health and things
think
of that
so.
nature. It's nothing, different. And some people try to do that. That's why I believe in the mind, body, and spirit.
I think so too. It's a good concept. And the work that you're doing and trying to help us to develop, bring to our attention that these qualities are necessary, could be, if you want to progress in your lifestyle, then we must apply some of the principles that would help us to get to a certain point in life.
Well, speaking of that, why do you think, let's just be, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk, real, because we've been doing it. But what's going on with the church? They're not saying anything.
Well, churches were developed for people to come together of like mind, to celebrate their founder of their spirituality, which in this case is Christianity, and this is Jesus and God, that kind of element together.
Sure.
And it has developed into being a whole lot of other things as well.
Legalism.
A whole lot of
Yeah.
other things
Yeah, that's
as
true.
well. Unfortunately, it has been, but you know, God is still in control. But it's so interesting to see what happens within the wall of the church and those of us who call ourselves adhering to the principles of great Christianity as we practice it, and see how we deviate from that in such an obvious way until it's embarrassing, me included. I never put myself above because we all have our quirks, but some things are
Yes.
so obvious
Sure.
that it becomes embarrassing. I am a little bit with organized church, organized religion, I should say, some of the things that I see, and a lot of other people have seen along the years, we question, and then we try to talk about it in given situations like this one, to just to touch the mind of those individuals who are in control
Yes.
and who can either bring something to a stop or make something, explain something to the people that come to be with them. So we have all kind of churches now.
True.
I think the latest advent is called I call it the super church. Those churches that have gone on to garner thousands of members and a lot of good in that.
True.
You know, I always tell people to look for the good
Yes. Yes.
in most situations.
Sure.
MOST.
Right.
You can find some good. And the good
believe
is
that.
there are outreach programs that smaller churches are not able to do. A lot of people can come and hear the word that wouldn't go otherwise because they want to be around a lot of people. You know, a lot of people think that you know, you're in when you go where everybody else is.
Right.
You know, but the road to destruction is great.
Right.
The road to heaven is narrow, so
Right,
sometimes
right.
you have to watch that. But I think there's a lot of good, and there are a lot of good leaders in the church.
Yes,
But
sir.
I try to say to some people, I have a television show. It's called Bobby Jones Gospel. It's been on about 34, 35 years. And so oftentimes some of the members of churches will say, well, you know, my pastor got upset with me because I was watching your show and he needed me at church. I said, well, just tell him, same God.
Right.
It's the same God. You know, if you're watching a show that's talking about, singing about, praising Jesus, what's the difference? Just because he's in the church, in that building, that's going to be a difference? No. But that's just a little jealousy, little things that people like to protect their own territory.
Right. Well, you know, I always say this for years. I've always said it. Religion comes and goes, but spirituality lasts forever.
Religion comes and goes. Well, we have 5 basic religions that express themselves in this world. And I think there are a lot of subdivisions of
Yes.
those created by man. Okay, so how we identify those 5, I think basically it's because of regional differences, ethnic differences, and way of expressing, but most of them relate to one central concept, and that's God.
Yes.
You know, and yes, some practices have come, and some other practices are still around.
Sure.
I like to call them practices. Why? Dr. Maya Angelou expressed something to me some years ago about practicing Christianity. She said, you know, a doctor practices medicine, an attorney practices law, a lot of different other kind of occupational situations is where people practice their craft. So since we are not perfected in Christianity, we practice it because we haven't become whole in what we do. We make mistakes. We
Sure.
ask for forgiveness. God in his scripture, his great presentation of scriptures tells us that he will forgive us for all the mistakes we made. Okay, go back and practice this again. How many times do we have
Right.
to practice this till we get it right,
Yes.
you know? So I call it practicing Christianity in this instance. However, my respect for other religious beliefs, since you mentioned religion comes and goes, my respect for them is great because I think there is some commonality, and I like to consider myself in a universal order, which means I can see all, you know, many things, not just one thing.
Sure.
Some of us are just one-minded,
Yeah,
one-directed, and
that's
we
true.
don't respect anybody else, even
That's
though we can't know everything.
That's right.
You know,
I believe
I think a wise man is wise when he respects and recognizes that there is more to one thing than we think there is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying what that one thing is. I think
Right.
I'm wise enough to say that.
Right. I understand, because then it'd be another conversation going on.
Could be. So I like to adhere to that principle of life and develop a mental suggestion that there is an expansion of God, and He is so almighty that we can't understand all of it. So I'm not thinking because people are in the mindset of there is Judaism, there is Allah, they call him, whatever, the Confucianism of these practices and all of other religions is all in vain. I don't see how that could be, because look at me and you and how different we are. You're female, I'm male. Right. You're pretty and I'm ugly. There,
no, you're not that.
There are the people that are called yellow people, and the Japanese, Chinese. They're red people, they call them that. They're Indians. They're people of different shades of darkness, which we call now black. And then there are people who are pink, and we call them white. And it's interesting how these different people are on this planet.
Yes.
So if there's that much difference in ethnicity and differences in languages to be spoken, oh, God, hundreds of languages, then why do we all have to adhere to the same thing? I don't think a God would expect us to.
That's good.
But for the Christian, you're going to say, now, Bobby Jones, what is wrong with you? God said the only way you can, yes, and that's what I believe. The only way you can get to Him, you got to say that Jesus is the way. Right. Okay, now, so I adhere to that concept for me. But that doesn't mean that because somebody else says that Allah is the way, that they're necessarily wrong, because we actually don't know.
No, we don't.
In reality, we've had our experiences. We have our belief systems. I believe in Jesus. I've recognized His spirituality within my soul, and that's what I accept. But somebody else might accept something else. How am I going to say you're wrong?
Well, I've really found myself, over the years, being with the nonprofit and even dealing with Faith in Mind. That's why I have the general concept of dealing with the interfaith. I don't want to just deal with the church. Now, I've kind of had some conversations. I'm not a minister, okay? I'm not. I'm a social worker. I do some other different things, but ultimately, that's what I do. So I'm not going to, I believe that I'm not going to sit there and try to really prove my stance.
You don't need to.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think I'm just being honest with you. Especially when you talk about interfaith, because, in talking about that, I want to reach everyone. And I think about your premise and what you've done over the years. You reach a lot of people.
Isn't that a blessing?
It is.
What gave you the idea? Because you've been working on this radical situation for a long time. And here comes Angela Bennett Shine. And she says, I'm determined to talk about spirituality and mental health. What is it about mental health issues and situations that drew you to even going as far as having a television show? What was behind that? It may be similar to mine. I really don't know really what drew me other than it drew me.
Yes.
And here I am.
Yes.
Now, what drew you?
Well, what drew me was just the passion. I always had the passion.
What passion?
The passion of helping people.
How?
How? Because of the passion of helping people, because I believe, I'm a social worker. So I always felt that I wanted to work with the church, to really promote mental health.
What you mean by promoting mental health?
You
mean to identify? Yeah, of course. This is our time to chat.
Right.
You don't have to be.
And to be honest with you, to be very honest with you, it took me a while, and it still continues to take me a while that I can't even fathom of people getting along and talking about mental health. Sometimes I just can't put myself around it to really think.
But what's so important about mental health? That as it relates to spirituality?
Because it has everything to do with the mind, body, and spirit. It really does. And when you think about 1 out of 4 Americans have a mental health illness. We are all affected one way or another. And let's go deeper than that. Chronic illnesses. A lot of people don't equate that with mental health. Obesity. When I think about, I live in Mississippi now. They're the 50th highest rank of health problems. Largest in obesity, dealing with childhood poverty, diabetes, heart disease. I can go on and on. Now, Tennessee is not that far from it, Dr. Jones.
Of course it isn't. But now what I like about what you just said is, yes, a lot of the problems that we have physically is because of our mental situations and the disorders that we have to do that. A lot of the problems that we have in churches, in relationships, are caused because our mental inability to be able to conform to the just process of life and living.
Sure.
And so the steps of tying those together from what I see that you're doing makes that a very good means of communicating effectively with those that still possibly have the mentality to understand that someone is saying something to me that can help me and that can help my mind to grow and develop and to become a better person.
Right.
That my spirituality can be enriched because I am spiritual enough to understand what the principles are that judges the way my social energies in my life should be.
Yes.
So you got to have a mind enough to understand that.
Most definitely.
Most of us, when we go to a given spiritual situation, we tend to adhere to the messages that are being given without reflecting or without using the basic skills that we have in order to judge whether this is literal understanding, which means for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Literal, accepted. Second level, reorganizational thinking. How can we reorganize that pattern of thought as we would do a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb, a prepositional phrase? They make up sentences, which allows us to digest information that is written or spoken. What is the subject of the matter? Okay, the subject in this case is faith and mind. Faith in mind. Okay, so if you reorganize that thought pattern, that takes you to another point of understanding. Then we get to the third level of thought, which is inferential. It means being able to read between the lines.
That's good, Dr. Jones.
Oh, that is what. So if we go with just that, I'm not through. Well, if we go with just those two, with that, I'm talking about the literal and the reorganizational skill.
Yes.
They didn't put me here because I'm handsome.
Oh, they didn't?
Because I can think.
Yes.
Who said that? Judge Judy. But if you can't take yourself into a place and listen to what someone has to say and be objective about your thought pattern, then it's going to limit your ability to adjust to whatever's given. You're going to be one mind focused. But that inference skill is a challenging one, because you have to be able to read between the lines. Now, what does read between the lines means? It means that if you make a statement, there can be more than one meaning to that statement, right?
Sure.
And if you're not smart enough to understand that, then you can be trapped.
Yes.
Okay? Okay. I love you. Yes. What does that really mean?
Right.
What is love? How much do you love me? I mean, all of that. You got to figure that out. You got to figure that out. Does it mean that you're attracted to me for several reasons? Is it whatever kind of attraction it could be, because you have nice lips and nice lipstick and pretty hair. Maybe I say, I love you, Angie. You love what you see, but you don't know the inner me.
I understand.
So that inferential skill is the one that I harp on a lot in developing mentality.
Yes.
Okay. Then we move on to the judgmental level, which is number 4. Okay. Fact or opinion, true or false, reality or falsities. These things that we have to look at, and many of us, me as well. I'm inclusive in everything because I'm human as well.
You need to be,
and none of us are perfect. So I say
not
things, do things, hear things, say things, and I have to make a selection. Is this fact? Or is this somebody's opinion? So I'm back into the church again with your mind.
Yes, I got you.
And your faith and your spirituality. Is this man telling me this is a fact or is this an opinion? How am I going to ingest or digest what this information is all about? Back to mental health. You hit it right on the head when you said mental health. True or false? Fact or opinion? Well, many times we take information that we hear as a fact when actually it's an opinion.
Well, you heard it, everybody, from Dr. Bobby Jones, my mentor and a man of great stature. Thank you so much, Dr. Bobby Jones.
As the French say, il n'y a pas de quoi, madame. Merci.
And I
beaucoup
always say,
aussi.
whatever you say, see. Okay?
See ya, you're Spanish.
Yes, that's all I know. Okay?
Well, thank you, Angie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Karen G. asked on Facebook, can children experience mental health problems? Yes, and they may show early warning signs of mental health issues. So if your child is showing signs of mental health issues, call your doctor or ask for a behavior health referral. Thomas W. sent an email. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Are mental health issues treatable? Studies show that people with mental health problems get better and many recover completely. It begins with seeking professional help that's right for you. Zach E. on Twitter asks, what stage in life do mental health illnesses appear the most? Thanks a lot, Zach. National Alliance for the Mentally Ill reports that mental illnesses often appear for the first time during adolescence and young adult. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. So please go to Faith in Mind at RadicalInc.org or hit me up, everybody, on Twitter at AngieBRadical or hit me up on Facebook at Faith in Mind. Here's my motivational moment. We don't get to choose our family nor the talents given to us. Life can be difficult and often leave us with many unanswered questions as to why. But Dr. Bobby Jones' remarkable resilience of overcoming many life challenges is an inspiration to us all. There is hope and resources available for children who may be living with a parent suffering from alcoholism. Just know you are not alone, and you too can overcome, just as Dr. Jones did. So for more information, visit Faith in Mind at www.faithinmind.com. I'm glad you joined me today, so look out for me. I'm coming to a community near you with resources, information, and strategies to promote awareness that will inspire your mind, body, and spirit for lifelong solutions for a mentally healthy America. So until next time, keep faith in mind. Remember, it's a movement through action and love.